Hello and welcome to the second round of Adam Cup at Cadwell Park. Now this circuit is known for being very tricky and challenging, with sections such as the mountain that can be seen behind me. With the small, powerful, lightweight cars we should hopefully see some air. Also this weekend we've got some new drivers joining us, so let's go and catch up with them and see if they think they've got what it takes to handle this circuit. We're here with one of the new drivers this weekend, Matt Walton. Matt, what brought you to Adam Cup?
Well, I've known the lads at Ariel for quite a few years now. Had a couple of plays in them around at Bruntingthorpe, but never raced one before. Done a bit in Clio Cup, not the Clio Cup Championship, but I've got a little old 172 Cup car that did a bit of racing in the Track Day Trophy. And just, it's been sat in the shed, thought I want to go racing, that's not ready to race, and this thing's ready to go. So Tom said, do you want to have a go in it? I thought, give it a go, do one round, see if I like it, and if I do, see if I can find some funding to do the rest of the season.
Another new driver here this weekend is John Hamilton. John, what brought you to Adam Cup?
I used to own an Atom. Actually, I've had a couple of them back in 2008 through to 2011. I know the guys at the factory really well. I've been racing in Renault Clios, and they asked me if I wanted to come do a drive. So I thought, yeah, why not? Try it. But it's a completely different thing to what I'm used to. Rear wheel drive, rear engine, a lot more powerful. So it's been a bit of, in at the deep end, but slowly chipping away. Every time I go out, I'm taking a bit more time. So yeah. So if I don't finish last, it'll be a little bit of a bonus or crash.
We're here with another new driver, Stuart. Now Stuart, you've got no race history. What brought you to the Adam Cup?
I've run an aerial Atom for the last 5 years on the road and do quite a few track days, and I've always been drawn to having a go at racing, so what better guy?
It is a great car. What are your thoughts on the circuit here at Cadwell today, since you've been out yesterday doing testing?
Well, in theory it's my favourite circuit. Well, it wasn't until I crashed on Friday, but hopefully if it stays dry I should be alright, yeah.
Richard Marler conquered the tricky Cadwell circuit yesterday and got himself on pole for first race. Richard, tell me about it.
We went out for the first time this season on wet tyres, and the track was very, very slippery. So unlike in the dry, I was driving well within myself, tried to be as smooth as I possibly could. I love it here. If I wasn't racing, I'd just be having the best time in the world. Trying to get round here with other Atoms going very quickly is very intimidating. But I'm looking forward to really giving it my best go and trying to at least bring home a podium on the first race.
The cars are behind me getting ready to go out on a track for the first race of the day. Richard Marler set the fastest time yesterday, so he'll be starting on pole. But newcomer Matt is going to be right alongside him. Things are going to get interesting. Let's see how they get on.
Well, this should be very entertaining indeed. And here's how they line up, with Richard Marler in pole position from Matt Walton, Paul Donkin and Nick Whitehead very evenly matched in third and fourth. John Hamilton, Stuart Drool and Lewis Cook rounding out the top seven. The twists, turns, undulations, Cadwell Park, always spectacular as the red lights flash on, and out they go, sprinting on towards Coppice, and it is a good getaway from Matt Walton, number 12. That's got the white nose cone, but also matching with Richard Marler off the line. He's got the black nose cone as they sprint through Coppice for the first time. It's Nick Whitehead who clambers himself up into third position as they head into Charlie's for the long run along the park straight. She's one of the few spots you can really get the slipstream, maybe the overtaking manoeuvres. They're all cleaning through the first couple of corners. As you can see, Cadwell Park's such a narrow track, overtaking very tricky, always spectacular when it does happen. Nick Whitehead's got lots of cars slipstreaming behind him as we may see a change to the lead, and looking to dive through then it's Richard Marler who squeezes up ahead of Matt Walton as they hit the brakes into Park Corner, then around Chris Curve and on to possibly some of the drivers' favourite corner in UK Motorsport, the Gooseneck. The road just plunges away from you as you dive right, then left, blind entry before you arrive into Mansfield. Let's have another look at the start. Really, the front row got away as one. Matt Walton was cleanly off the line, but so was Richard Marler. And then row 2, the same Paul Donkin and Nick Whitehead, very evenly matched. Then Whitehead snatching around the outside of Donkin. Spectacular stuff already. In the early stages, they come out of Mansfield on towards the legendary mountain for the first time. Here's the pulses to Richard Marler, who's got the advantage over Matt Walton, who flicks the car sideways, and they all gain a lot of air as they come over the top of the mountain and then into the Hall Bends. They arrive at the hairpin. Very, very twisty and technical, this final section of the lap at Cadwell Park. They come out of the hairpin and on towards Barn Corner. That will then propel them down the hill to complete the lap. Stuart Drool there in the red car, number 22, beginning to very steadily make progress. And let's not forget, this is his first ever motor race, and he has gone very nicely on this first lap, picking up places as appropriate. His next target then is Nick Whitehead, who currently sits in 3rd position. And Walton coming under a lot of pressure from Whitehead. And then we've got Stuart Drool, who's got a superb run on Whitehead here, coming out of Charlie's. Whitehead likewise will fancy his chances maybe of slipstreaming Matt Walton as he hits the brakes into Park, and through he goes. Lovely move there from Nick Whitehead. Now will he be able to hold that for Chris Curve, the right-hander that just goes on forever? He's really bunching the rest of the field up very nicely as well. It's Stuart Drool then who's got the next slot in the queue, but really the whole field very much racing as one as they plunge downhill. Also strongly there is the yellow-nosed car of Lewis Cookers. Look at this, Matt Walton really taking the fight back to Nick Whitehead, and this is why Walton needs to fight back at Nick Whitehead. Absolutely beautiful manoeuvre there from Whitehead. Later on the brakes, then Walton diving to the inside line, gets the car stopped in time. Absolutely textbook stuff there from Whitehead. On to complete the lap then, and trying to make good his escape is Richard Marler. All the while though, Whitehead and Walton in very close content with then Stuart Drool. The next man along, he's got Lewis Cook as well, with Paul Donkin pretty much on his tail. And this is the beauty of the races we've seen thus far in the Atom Cup. It's only their 3rd race ever in the UK. They've all been very, very close affairs, and races where fortunes have ebbed and flowed throughout proceedings. So Whitehead trying to get himself onto terms with Richard Marler. Well, he withstands any pressure Matt Walton may have wanted to exert, but then makes the mistake on the Exeter Park and slides onto the grass through Chris Curve, and Nick Whitehead will be kicking himself. It was a tiny error, but the damp grass really exacerbates it, and he rejoins an awful lot of ground to make up. And let's see how he can progress on through the field. First thing he needs to do is get the gooseneck just right. Now let's have another look at it from the outside. Out of the park he comes. She just runs wide over the curb and on the grass, and by then it's all going very badly wrong. There's nothing more sickening than being in the cockpit of a racing car and seeing all your rivals disappearing off the road ahead of you as you slither across the grass. But he recovered it very nicely, rejoined, and gets back into the action. Stuart Drool having a good scrap here with Matt Walton. While though it is still Richard Marler who's leading the way, and Paul Donkin as well is just beginning to invite himself into this battle as well. So there is the race leader, number 44, Richard Marler. Then we've got this Drool and Walton battle with Paul Donkin and Lewis Cook in pretty close contact. So Matt Walton, he's trying very, very hard here. Just wonder whether or not he's at risk of pushing maybe a little bit too hard as he thinks about making the move on Stuart Drool. Draws alongside as they go into coppice. That's going to be very tight, but through goes Matt Walton. Very, very nice manoeuvre. Now we see it from a slightly unique position as Matt Walton moves up the gear along the start and finish straight, pulls out of the slipstream of Stuart Drool and dives to the inside line. Lovely camera angle and very cool, calm and collected at the wheel there, Matt Walton. Marler still leads, and then Walton slithering into all sorts of angles through the mountain. He holds on to third position. He's got Paul Donkin now up onto his tail. That means that Stuart Drool, somewhere out of our sight, is able to repass Walton, who is going ever more sideways, and he goes around through the Hall Bends, and that did have a little bit of an air of inevitability about it all. He then takes a corner marker with him as a souvenir as he rejoins, slips back behind the recovering Nick Whitehead. Now that could have slightly negative implications here for the race leader, Richard Marler, because what it does is frees up Stuart Drool to chase down Marler, the race leader. Here we see in car with Matt Walton, less cool, calm and collected this time round. Very lucky not to make friends with the Armco barrier. Finds first gear, rejoins, and gets back underway. There's Whitehead diving back past him. There is Walton, who is almost a lap down, as Richard Marler has been caught, as we thought he might be, by Stuart Drull. He's brought Paul Donkin with him for company as we move towards last stages of this race, and we could yet see a dramatic change for the lead, which would be immensely frustrating for Richard Marler, having led for most of the proceedings. But Stuart Drull's got an excellent run here as they come out of Charlie's and along the Parks straight on towards Park Corner and to the inside line, and diving through and taking the lead goes Stuart Drull, and that was a really nice manoeuvre. And Paul Donkin also follows through as Richard Marler is pushed out wide, and so Richard Marler in the blink of an eye goes from first to third, and we're so late in the race now. Is he going to have the opportunity here to fight back? Well, certainly you can't really overtake through the gooseneck. Mansfield you possibly can, as Nick Whitehead continues his improvement up through the field. He's now onto the tail of Lewis Cook, and this is for fourth position, and Nick Whitehead just squeezes through. Cook tried to shut the door, but it was a little bit too late. Matt Walton slithers out of barn. At least he's having fun. Right, a hairpin rather into barn, and then we've got this leading trio. The checker flag is ready and waiting. It's going to be a remarkable win here for Stuart Drull from 6th on the grid. He takes the win in the first race at Cadwell Park from delighted Paul Donkin in second, and Richard Marler completing the podium. So let's have a look then at the final results. The victory for Drull from Donkin and Marler, with Nick Whitehead 4th, Lewis Cook in 5th and Matt Walton in 6th.
Wow, that was your first ever time on track racing and you've won. How do you feel?
Yeah, well chuffed, to be fair, yeah. After qualifying in 6th, I knew I was one of the fastest in the dry, but I know the racing's really, really close, and getting through them, we're going to take some doing. But I got a good start, to be fair. I think I was up to either 3rd or 4th, half a lap into it, so then it was a matter of just being steady. But every time you're looking to go past somebody, somebody's looking to come past you, so yeah, it's quite cutthroat, yeah.
It was a pretty busy race. Silverstone was a lot easier than this one. There's cars everywhere, really narrow track, found it really hard, really physical. Just a hard race in general, but it paid off in the end, so really happy with that.
I felt comfortable and like I was on for an easy win. And then a car came out of the pits, a lap down, right alongside me on the start-finish straight. He unlapped himself, and it just completely threw my my concentration and my flow, and the two cars that were probably 3-4 seconds behind me caught me back up. They came past. I managed to overtake back into first again once, but by that stage I was sort of done for, to be honest. So yeah, I'm pretty annoyed, but looking forward to the next race.
Congratulations to all 3 drivers there after the excitement in race 1. Let's see what race 2 has to offer after the break.